allergic reactions, sick, sterile, and dead livestock, damage to virtually every organ in lab animals, and inflammation in the human body. For genetically engineered foods, there's two categories. One is the herbicide-tolerant crops, and that's where they can spray weed killers on the crops and the plants don't die, just the weeds. And pesticide-producing crops. Those are bug-killing crops, where the crop actually kills the bug. They bite the crop that we're eating, and it kills the bug by breaking open its stomach, and it dies. The herbicide most commonly used with Monsanto for the herbicide-producing crops is a herbicide called Roundup. Jeffrey Smith in Genetic Roulette shares that Roundup was originally patented as a broad-spectrum chelator. The chelation means it's the molecular level of hugging. And so what happens is that when plants are treated with Roundup, it means there's a reduction in the available nutrient because the plant is doing that chelation thing where it holds on to the nutrients. So when animals eat these crops, then they have a reduction in the available nutrients to them, and they become weak and sick. And then when we eat those animals and those crops, they have a reduction in available nutrients, so we become weaker and sick. And because we've eaten those crops that have that Roundup in it, that chelation starts to happen in our own bodies, where our own nutrients become less available to us, and we become sick. And studies have also found that another ingredient in Roundup, glyphosate, is a genotoxin, which means it causes birth defects. Because there's so much Roundup being used now, the U.S. Geological Survey has found it in 60% of air, rain, and water samples. Roundup is no longer working on crops to a point where the USDA is proposing a new genetically engineered corn variety resistant to 2,4-D. 2,4-D is half of the component of Agent Orange, which was used in Vietnam and caused cancer and birth defects. So now for Monsanto's pest-producing crops. These crops produce their own toxic insecticide, so that if a bug bites these plants, it breaks over their stomach and it kills them. Now I'm going to read, because this is from Jeffrey Smith's Genetic Roulette, and I want to get it right. In 1996, genetically engineered soy and corn were introduced into the American diet. Since then, numerous disorders related to gut inflammation have been on the rise in the US population. But inflammation also creates additional serious disorders unrelated to digestion: allergies, autoimmune disorders, heart disease, diabetes, thyroid disease, and more. And other health issues related to inflammation, because Monsanto uses a soil bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT, in their pesticide-producing crops. If you take BT and gather it up and use it as a spray, the BT toxin produced by the bacteria will kill insects. It's used in its natural form by foresters and organic farmers, and it's biodegradable. It washes off. But Monsanto puts BT toxic genes from its bacteria into corn and cotton plants. Every single cell within these plants are now producing a toxic protein at a concentration thousands of times greater than a natural spray. Monsanto says BT toxin is destroyed during digestion in mammals, and even if it wasn't, it has no interaction with human cells. But when Monsanto's BT toxin was taken from their corn and it was exposed to human cells, the Journal of Applied Toxicology pointed out a little oversight. BT pokes holes in human cells and causes leakage. But Monsanto said BT is destroyed during digestion. That was proven to be incorrect in Canada, where they found BT in the blood of 93% of pregnant women tested and in 80% of their unborn fetuses. The authors of the study in Canada concluded that they've got to have some form of constant feeding of BT, and this is not Mexico, where they feed on corn tortillas 3 times a day. So they figured maybe it's because they're eating the milk and the meat of the animals that do eat BT corn every day. That same protein is also surviving the digestive process now of humans. So when doctors hear about this, that BT corn was introduced into our diets in the mid-90s, they say this may explain the increase in gastrointestinal problems that they are seeing in their practices. If BT toxin causes our guts to become leaky or permeable to foods, we get what is called leaky gut. This opens us up to many different diseases. It also disrupts the healthy flora in our digestive systems. Children are more sensitive to GMOs. Their gut bacteria hasn't developed completely yet, so they're more sensitive to higher doses of toxins than adults. There's only been one human feeding study on genetically engineered foods. They found that part of the gene inserted into soybeans to make the soybeans Roundup ready transferred into the DNA of bacteria living in human intestines and appeared to produce herbicide-tolerant protein. This means that long after we stop eating genetically modified foods, we may still have these genetically modified proteins producing continuously inside of us. And this may explain why Canadian women and their unborn fetuses had so much BT toxin in their blood. When I was ill, I was also diagnosed with leaky gut. It's something that I found out on my own by having food allergy testing done. So I know that I was affected by this as well. It seems though the worst is yet to come for mankind, or possibly we can get this under control. By Anthony Gucciardi, Natural Society. In a riveting victory against genetically modified creations, a major biotech company known as Syngenta has been criminally charged for denying knowledge that its GM, BT corn, actually kills livestock. And yet for some in America, this BT corn is being brought to supermarket shelves. Walmart is going to start selling the genetically modified corn that contains the BT toxin. Monsanto has developed genetically modified sweet corn. This by Kim Basin of the Business Insider on the 7th of August. Monsanto has developed genetically modified sweet corn, and it's the first time that the company is doing this with fresh produce, as opposed to processed foods. Activists have worked to try to keep it off store shelves, and its health effects are still being debated. After closely looking at both sides of the debate and collaborating with a number of respected food safety experts, we see no scientifically validated safety reasons to implement restrictions on this product, Walmart told the Chicago Tribune. As Fast Company's Ariel Schwartz points out, you've probably eaten GM corn before, since Monsanto's rival Syngenta has been making it for a decade. Still, this is the first time ever consumer product developed by Monsanto, and if it works out, there will likely be much more to come. What exactly is the concern with GM corn? There's a concern with these GE crops that we eat with minimal processing, like sweet corn. We're exposed to a lot more of whatever is in it versus a processed corn product. But BT toxin, a trait found in Monsanto's Roundup herbicide, used on Monsanto corn, has been found in the maternal and fetal blood of pregnant women. No one is quite sure what this means at this point. 2 weeks ago, another startling report surfaced. In the first ever study to examine the long-term effects of Monsanto's Roundup weed killer, the Roundup-resistant GM maize, also developed by Monsanto, scientists found that rats exposed to even the smallest amounts develop mammary tumors and severe liver and kidney damage as early as 4 months in males and 7 months in females. In America,